Hi, I'm Sarah and I'm on a bit of a mission to make my life more eco-friendly. And one of the ways I've been experimenting with doing that is making my own yarn. So I'm having a go at kind of reclaiming my old yarn snips, and I thought I would kind of create a half vlog, half tutorial as I try and do a rainbow yarn project, which I thought of a while ago, but I've made some more sort of progress with it recently, so I thought this would be a good point to do it. If you want to follow along at home, which you can do, you're going to need a couple of things. One of the essentials is a carding brush. You can get these online. You need one. You can have two, but like you only need one. You'll need some form of spinning tool. The easiest and the cheapest, well, I say easiest, probably the easiest, the thing that I practice with first, and I think a lot of people start with first, is this. It's called a drop spindle. You can get lots of different types of them and stuff. I got this one from Etsy, I believe, and I think that's where I got the carding brush from as well. This is for if you're spinning by hand. If you have a spinning wheel, if you're watching this as an actual spinner, I'm sorry, I'm sure I'm doing all of the techniques in my own way. Wrong. But if you've got a spinning wheel or something and you already like that and use that, then that's cool. I bought something called an iSpin. I did a review about it yesterday, 2 days ago, something like that. So that's what I'm mostly going to be spinning on. You'll also need some yarn snips, by which I mean these guys. So there's loads of different projects that you can do for if you have like this much yarn left. Like this little baskety guy that I made. Small projects, one ball projects, etc. Like we're all kind of familiar with those if you're used to knitting and crocheting and stuff. But there's not so much use for this sort of length of bit. This is very much just the kind of thing that would end up in the rubbish. So I'm thinking, one, let's keep it from going in the rubbish and then being probably in landfill. And two, let's create some yarn that is free to me and custom and all that exciting stuff. You don't need this vast quantity. I just put a call out on Facebook and someone responded with all of the yarn from everyone in their knitting group. It's wild. So what I've done is I've separated this out by colour. I thought I'm going to do kind of a rainbow variegated yarn. I've not thought of how I'm gonna do the repeats. I'll keep you involved as we go. So I've separated it out by colour. These are all of the orange guys, and today I went through and I weighed everything. I got some digital scales which can also be helpful. And I've weighed out 10 grams of each colour. So I've got my 7 colours, I've got like my 6 major rainbow colours, and I've also got pink in there as part of that. And basically I'm turning this into fibre. How am I doing that? Take your carding brush and pick up your fibre. Pick up your snips, I'm calling them. And I like to pick up a little handful at a time. You can do them one at a time, or you can, but that takes forever. This takes slightly less than forever. And then I line up all of the top ends. It doesn't matter if they're all different lengths at the bottom end. And then just brushing along. I usually have it facing me like this, but for the purposes of demonstration. And just kind of stroke it through to the top. Like you're brushing hair, but it's a little bit harder. Reasonably firm technique. And at some point you're going to kind of run out of most of the length. So you end up with a fuzzy guy that looks kind of like this, where it's sort of fuzzy all the way along and then there's just like a little twist in that end bit. Turn it around, hold it by the fuzzy bit, and then gently stroke until it's all kind of fuzzy fibre, and then just sort of lay it into the carding bit. If you've had them like drop in before you've had a chance to do that, just pull them up out of the tines of the comb and give it another little stroke. And then just do that with all of the bits until you're all done. And this does take a while. Patience is the other thing that you will need, but if you are somebody that does a lot of like hand knitting and hand crochet, you probably already have that in a reasonable amount of abundance. And then with this one, just keep going until the carding comb is full, and then we're going to take it off. So here's one I prepared earlier. I'm also doing a bit of a multicoloured thing, just as a way of practicing and to just to play with fibre differently. So that's what this is from. So when you've got everything sort of on the comb, you still want to be able to feel the tops, like of the tines, but kind of all the way across and like a reasonable depth of it as well. Take all your fluffy bits with your hand underneath, and we're making something called a rolag. Oh, it's only half done. No, find the little piece that's only been half done and finish it. Okay. It's sorted, it's fine. Crisis averted. So you pick it up from there, and it kind of all comes away pretty much in just one bit. So this is all of my different fibres, all going in the same way, but all like laid next to each other. And then I have just been kind of pressing it in the middle and rolling it in between my hands like this. There is probably a proper way to do this. And if you know it, sorry. But that's what that makes. And then that's going into my basket for these guys. So this is the multicoloured one where I've not separated it. For ones I have separated out by colour, I've done all of the yellow. So this is about 10 grams. And they're on this nice box I upcycled. So that is the yellow all ready to go. Worried about like pushing the box off going. So that's all in these little rolag thingies. And I put a bit of tissue paper in so that when I put like the orange on it won't just mix the fibres while it's in. I don't know how much that actually happens, but yeah. So one of the things which is a little bit weird, which you might not think like is something to consider with this, is that you have to make a choice about how much you want to separate by colour, because it's like, oh yeah, it's just obvious. And for something like orange, I found, with at least what I've got all of the different kind of varied shades of orange. That makes it a little bit more different than it does in person. But I've got kind of the neon orange, and I've got this kind of more salmony, pinky orange and stuff, and that's a choice. But some of the other colours have a lot more variation, so it might... blue is one of the interesting ones, because I've got everything from kind of pale blue to navy, and I've just sort of gone, let's have all of the blues in and do that. But if that's something that's going to be sort of a problem for you, or not how you want your yarn, that might be something to consider. You don't realise until you try and put things into categories how freaking hard it is to put stuff into categories. Pink has also got a lot of variation with what I've done, because we've got like the neons and the bubble gums. That's my pink fibre, and then these are my snips, waiting to be turned into fibre and now rags. So that's where I am at the moment. I've also had a little bit of a go practicing some different plying techniques and different things like that as well. So because I wasn't really sure what I was doing, I made some red yarn and I just plied this back on itself. So I spun it up on the drop spindle, this guy. If I just take a little bit of this fibre, I'm sure it'll be fine. I just hook the end of it on, hold it quite close to the end, and then start spinning. You can Google how to use a drop spindle, because this may be not correct. But there it is. There it goes, turning itself into yarn. I think you are actually supposed to like drop it and the fibre go or whatever, but yeah. And then I spin it around like that and then hook it back up so it's then ready to go again if I had more than just this little bit. And then because that's only got a single spin and a single twist in it, in order to ply it, take it off, wind it into a centre pull ball, or in this case just reverse it, like put the two ends together. And then, because you want to spin it in the opposite direction when you ply, I've actually just been switching hands. Like, hook the end around the hook, and then I've just been spinning away from myself with my other hand. It's a bit too short to do properly, but that's creating yarn that kind of looks like that. So I've done that with the red, and it's come out like that. I've done it with blue, and it's come out like that. And I've also tried chain plying with this. I like purple as a colour, green and purple. So I've just combined green and purple fibres into the same thing, and this is how it comes out if you combine a couple of different colours of fibres. And then done something called a chain ply, which I just unply this. That might work. Just take out that last step. It's where you just have like the single bit of ply. You put it on kind of as it was before. Apologies again for anyone that's an actual spinner watching this. Sorry, I always get my hands in the way when I'm trying to like film anything. So you like put it back on, and then you wrap it around again so you get like this extra loop. Which is plying on itself. Oh no, I did it okay on the other one, but I'm trying to do this too quickly. So you have like a little loop, and then you pull another loop through it as you rotate in the plying direction, so with this hand, and then you just keep pulling the loop through, like making a really long chain crochet. And that gives you like a different thing, and then that means that the you only do it off a single one, and then when you change colour on the single ply, it's pretty much where you've changed colour. So I'm thinking this is the technique. The reason I wanted to practice it is I'm thinking this is the technique I'm probably going to use on my rainbow yarn, but you can also do it on a drop spindle. So that's the piece of chain plied yarn, and then you wrap it around stuff if you're spinning yarn. You can use a nitty knotty. You can also just use, because this is small quantities, I've been wrapping it around this. You can also use the back of a chair, or you can get a grandson to stand there like that and hold it while you round it. And that's what you use to create your hanks of yarn. This is going to be too small to wrap anywhere. So that's the kind of where I am with techniques and my knowledge of techniques. If I've found a really long bit of yarn hanging around, I have kind of rescued that out, because these are quite faffy to card using that technique, but they make quite good leaders, which is like you tie it onto your bobbin of your spinning wheel, and then you tie your yarn to that, and it just kind of gets you started. So I've rescued out a couple of those as I've been going, because I think that's probably going to be helpful for this spinning project and for others. And while I was in here, I also found some yarn that I'd kind of had a go at making using a slightly different technique. There's something you can do called a Russian join. So this is yarn before I had the idea of carding it and spinning it, or possibly at the same time. I tried to reclaim some of these slightly longer snips, and if you've got some if you've got like a good collection of snips that are that long, this could be quite good for it. Some of the bits here were too small. It's been a little bit trial and error to find out what kind of works. But this is like it's a whole bobbin of yarn that I've sort of reclaimed by putting back together. So if I show you a Russian join, I'm giving you the names of things so you can Google better tutorials if you are wanting to try any of these techniques. So I'm get another bit of yellow. For this one, you need like a needle like that, and basically you hook them round each other. Hands are in the way every time. You hook them round each other like that. That's not visible at all. So like you make a little loop in each end. And then you put the needle, I do that bit, is that more visible? You push the needle back into the ply. And then you basically just sew it into itself. You make a little... Wow, yeah, this isn't a tutorial in the slightest. Google Russian join yarn, and that will give you what you need. There's loads of tutorials on YouTube, that's how I learned. And you push it through. I have found that this is not particularly fiddly, but probably not worth it if you have really small bits because they don't sort of really go in properly. So you do need a slightly longer length for this. And the really short lengths are probably better just to card them. Or just use them as stuffing. If you've made some sort of crochet amigurumi animal or been quilting. Some sort of padded something. So, see if I can show you. So we've hooked the fibres on each other. This one I've kind of got in a little bit, not well. And then I've gone back through the yarn and pull it through. And that's then joined like with an overlap. And if you do properly, it hides all of the little taily bits. Not like that, but like that. So that's another option for another way that I've been trying to reclaim yarn and just make it a little bit all sort of more environmentally friendly. So I'll probably keep vlogging a little bit as I go through this process and showing kind of what methods I'm using. So the next part will probably just be spinning the yarn, and then maybe there'll be a knitting the yarn thing, but I don't have a particular project in mind for this. So yeah, hopefully this video has been not the most boring thing ever for the 3 people that have watched it. Well, you know, you can fit a lot of rubles in a dead rat, so let's see how many we can get in this one. Stay safe, stay happy, and keep crafting.